Hi, friends. Welcome to Your Story Within podcast. Boy, I think I need more coffee. Get that out. This is episode 22, and our special guest is Bill Kieffer. Now, let me tell you, Bill comes with a lot of good information. I'll give you a little bit of an introduction so you can understand just why I wanted Bill on the show. So, Bill has coached and advised, mentored, and worked with hundreds of service members, veterans, and others around the globe regarding career transition. Perfect for our podcast, right? Leadership development, he also provides coaching on performance improvement, all of those things throughout his career. He is the president and chief advisor of Kiefer and Associates Limited, an advisory firm specializing in military veteran career transition, leadership coaching, strategic talent management, and professional speaking and facilitation services. He also serves as a coach and a coaching board member for the Honor Foundation, a nonprofit group providing career transition services to the special operations community. That's actually where I met Bill. We both serve on that board together. So I was fortunate to meet him through that. And of course, as soon as I knew he wrote a book, which I'm going to tell you all about in a minute, I had to get him on the show. Anyway, Bill is a senior human resource executive with over 23 years of professional experience in multiple large, complex, global companies. His broad-ranging work includes full-spectrum HR and talent management, coaching, advising individuals and leaders, all the way from the shop floor to the C-suite. His experiences let me back up here. 12 years he served in the U.S. Army. He was a logistics officer. I could go on and on, but I have Bill on the show. So he's going to give you a little bit of his background, and then we'll be able to delve deeper into why he wrote a book. Anyway, so there was a little bit of a conflict. Bill was not able to come on the show today, but he was so kind. He did a pre-recorded session for us and allowed me to interview him and offered some really great responses to the questions I posed. So what I'm going to do to make sure you get all of the wonderful information that he shared with me, I'm going to go ahead and kick off the video so that you can hear our conversation and receive that great advice as well. So let me do that. There we go. Let me get myself off the screen. Hi, Bill. How are you today?
Good, Janine. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you so much for your willingness to do this. I know our schedules couldn't align, so you couldn't be on our live podcast, but thank you so much for pre-recording with me today and allowing me to ask you some questions that you'll answer for our audience.
No,
so
absolutely.
let's go ahead and get started.
To be here.
Oh, good. I'm a talker, Bill, so
all good.
You may have to jump in on me because sometimes I get carried away. I get so excited. All right, well, let's just jump right in. So before I talk about the book and your background, let's go right to why did you join the military?
Well, it was a lifelong dream. When I was a little kid, I loved the drill sergeant hat. It was that simple. But I'm the kid that grew up running around the woods, and I grew up hunting and fishing and being outdoors. And we have a family tradition. We've traced our family's military history back to the 1870s.
Oh, wow.
So not all career folks, but we've had every generation's had somebody in. So it was just a lifelong dream for me to do that.
Okay. Why the Army?
Because all but two of them in my history have been Army.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the other two went Navy, and one I don't remember what the years were, but back in the day, the Navy had the Great White Fleet. It was like a big exposition national or a global flotilla of naval ships to kind of display our naval force. I had some relative that was in the Great White Fleet, and then my oldest son broke ranks and joined the Navy and is still in the Navy.
Okay. And how long has he been in now?
10.5 years.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. And it's a great story. He he just got picked up for limited duty officer, so he'll be converting from enlisted to an officer.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
excellent news.
Thank you.
So I also come from a long line of military service members. I can't trace it back myself to the 1800s or anything like that, but I do have a lot of Army in my family. So my grandfather, my father, several uncles and cousins.
Yeah.
But I married a Navy man, so we don't do Army Navy football games, that kind of stuff. That would be kind of funny. And my husband's father was a Marine, so that's a whole nother story. So
Okay.
but
Right.
lots of military members in my family as well.
Very cool.
So what did you do in the Army?
I was a logistics officer. Now I could have said, and as I prepped for this, I thought I could have told you I was a 90 Alpha 5 Papa 3 Romeo.
Oh, and I would have went, huh?
As do most employers, if you bring that up. But
right.
So just for clarification, a 90 Alpha 5 Papa 3 Romeo, and I know this is going to help. It's a tactical multifunctional logistician who's both airborne and nuclear, biological, and chemical certified. That helps, right?
Well, that's a little bit better, yes.
So I was a logistics officer most of that time out with light infantry divisions, the 7th Infantry Division back in the day, the Operation Just Cause days, and then the 10th Mountain Division after that.
Okay.
So I was after 10th Mountain Division and doing some things there. I was called by branch and said, we think you're pretty good at what you do. We want you to go to Fort Lee and help us design and teach what is now called the Logistics Captain's Career Course. So I spent a couple of years teaching. That content was at the undergraduate and graduate level both. So.
Okay. Yeah. Now, did you deploy? And if so, how many deployments did you do?
Yeah, well, when I was with the 7th Infantry Division, we did a little time down in Central America doing some things in the late 80s. I actually supported, and I supported this from Fort Ord, but Operation Just Cause.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the units deployed. My unit did not, but we were the base support that all of Noriega's, I don't know if it was all, but many of Noriega's captured weapons came back to our unit, and we got to demilitarize them all. So that was a pretty cool mission.
Yeah.
And then with the 10th Mountain Division, I did Operation Restore Hope in Somalia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So when I was at the Navy Expeditionary Combat Command, I have never served myself, but I was a civil servant. I spent 10 years at NECC working with the expeditionary sailors, we call them, which is what actually led me to THF after I decided to start my own business. But I bring that up, tying it back to logistics. Under the NECC umbrella fell logistics for the Navy. So we had what they call Navy LSG, Navy Logistics Support Group. Right. And I remember they would do every year the Antarctica mission. And they would go and do the offloads and some other really cool things. And I was told, and I'm probably going to say this wrong because I've been gone for almost 4 years now, but break bulk capability, is that correct? They were the Navy, apparently, our guys and girls were the only ones that could still do that capability. Right. So it was pretty neat. So that's about as far as I go with logistics. But
yeah, while I was trained and schooled in everything from the industrial base all the way to the front line, most of my work was way out front and spent time out with the light infantry battalions and brigades. So I was a field logistics guy primarily.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. So you didn't retire from the service, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So why did you choose to leave?
Well, it was kind of an unexpected departure, quite frankly. I was at Fort Lee. I got selected for promotion to major, which I guess the Navy, that would be lieutenant commander.
Right.
And I found out very quickly thereafter that my marital circumstance was going to change.
Okay.
And I had to make a decision. Do I continue with a great career that I truly loved, or do I do the best I can to get as close as I can to my then 3 young kids? And while that was a hard decision, there's only one answer to that one for me.
Right. Right.
So while I was on a promotion list, I resigned.
Okay.
And that was the start of my exit. So it was
Gotcha.
not at all the way I planned a career, but you know what?
Right.
Life takes its twists and turns, and you do what you
Yes.
got to do.
Yes. Like many other service members have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
I have a recent client, just that, 13 years in, and decided, with the help of his wife, I should say, that it was time to get out
Mm-hmm.
because he was air traffic control on a carrier.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in their 6 years of marriage, he had been home a combined total of 1 year. He was
Mm-hmm.
gone all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
and they have two young kids. And long story short, they got to the point where their marriage and their family were not going to survive
Mm-hmm.
if he continued to be gone. So although it's hard, he did 13 years, and people say, how can you give that up? But then in the grand scheme, well, it's that, or I can't give up my family, so
Right.
it's a tough position to be in.
No, it really
Absolutely.
is. My oldest son, the one in the Navy, he's a parachute rigger, and he spent most of his time on carriers. And his just over 10 years, I don't know, actual sea time, I think, is over 4 years now.
Yeah, it's tough.
So yeah,
It's
these are
tough.
tough jobs. They're tough
Yeah.
jobs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So after transitioning from the service, where did you land and what are you doing today?
So, like I shared, my transition was it was rough. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how to do anything. I really didn't have much money because I really wasn't planning to do any of this. And boom, there I am out in the middle of the civilian world going, uh-oh, what do I do now? So that said, I was pretty confident in my capabilities, but I found that I wasn't competent in the context that I was facing. I didn't understand the civilian world. I didn't understand how things work. Networking, I don't know what that is. Well, I do now, but
Right, right.
bear in mind, this was before LinkedIn and this was before Indeed. This was
Yes.
1997. So, I'm actually reading newspapers and checking phone books and knocking on doors. And for a big introvert like me, that was really hard to do. But all that work paid off. A connection of a connection, knew of an opportunity as deputy director of economic development for a local county I lived in, and that was an interesting job. Attracting and retaining business and working with employment and that kind of stuff. And it was interesting, but it really didn't pay real well. So I kept networking, and within a year, I landed a job as a training manager for an 1,100 person air freight facility in my area. And that was the launch pad for a great 22-year career as an
Okay.
HR talent management executive in large, complex, multi-billion-dollar global companies. I did that.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I did that until 2018. And I decided, you know what? 60, 70-hour weeks and 50 to 75% travel, it's just not fun anymore. I
Yes.
checked my finances and went, can I make a tough decision to try and do something else? I thought, yeah, let's take a shot. What the heck? And I started my own individual coaching and advisory firm, which is what I do today.
Oh, we kind of took the same path in that regard. I didn't work for a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar company, nothing like that. And I certainly haven't served in the military. I was blessed to have the opportunity to work with the military. But in 2017, the end of 2017, I kind of had the same epiphany you did.
Mm-hmm.
Can I not work 70-hour weeks and still make a good living doing something I really, really want to do? I wasn't
Sure.
getting any younger.
Right.
And I thought, if I'm going to really launch this business, I probably need to do it now in case it doesn't work out and I need to go back.
There you go.
I was like, I want to do this. I had confidence that I could do it. I have a PhD. Why not, right? I have an MBA, all the things you're supposed to have, they say. And, but I was scared to death. I remember resigning from the command. The admiral kind of looked at me like, where are you going? And I did it just like you. And but I'll tell you, helping other people As a coach, I love it. I love it. It's so rewarding, so satisfying. And at the end of the day, the money comes.
Mhm.
I don't make what I made in that particular position. However, I get to do other things. So I'm also a professor. I have my business. I have this. And together, all of those things, replace anything that I lost,
Well, yeah,
So
and I think that's a really important point for folks, especially our military veterans in career transition, is that you kind of have to understand what you value and why. For years, I mean, one of the drivers for me was financial security for my family. I knew that early on. That was a motivator. That was a priority for me. And I did well. I mean, I quite frankly, I had big jobs that paid pretty darn good. Um, but I got to a point where it was no longer fun. It was no longer fulfilling. And that thing that drove me was no longer a good thing.
right.
And I think as folks, military veterans especially, approach career transition, they kind of need to understand what that thing is for them.
Yes. Yes. It's funny. I started off in career services actually.
Mhm.
Gosh, back in 1998. I was career services for a law school, which
Okay.
is why with the Honor Foundation, sometimes I get the JAGs because I know the legal side
Hmm.
from a career perspective, that is.
Hmm.
And I missed it so much. Well, when you're, trying to, go down your own path and reach your career milestones, I wish somebody would have said, "Hey, if you're not passionate about something, you probably shouldn't do it." Or, maybe if they would have said, getting that seat at the table that you want so bad, you may not like it with your personality. I wish I would have had, career assessments and different things to
Hmm.
tell me a little bit more about myself. I'm glad we
Hmm.
have that stuff today.
Hmm.
I love Career Leader. I give that to a lot of my clients,
Hmm.
that assessment. I've done all of the other assessments, the Myers-Briggs and the DISC and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm glad that our military members have those types of assessments available to them so that they can, make informed decisions. Because I tell you what, I strived so hard, even in the federal government service, to get that seat at the table.
Hmm.
And when I got the seat at the table, Bill, they were grooming me for SES. I had done the
Hmm.
Department of Defense Executive Leadership Development Program. I was on the Admiral's War Council, which was unheard of,
Hmm.
being I didn't even have a military background.
Hmm.
But getting that seat at the table, I was like, I don't know if I want a seat at the table. I felt so far removed from actually helping people. I
Right.
mean, I did help people at that level. I
Hmm.
just needed to help more boots on the ground and
Well,
one-on-one interaction.
it's a
And
little less direct. It's a little more indirect.
yeah,
And instead of having well, I think firsthand impact on the people in the way that you used to have, you now have indirect impact on a whole
yes,
lot of people and things. And that's
yeah,
valuable. I mean,
yes,
I had a seat at the table for 22 years. And
yeah,
what's the phrase to those who much is given, much is expected?
yes.
That seat at the table is not a lounge chair.
Exactly. Exactly.
I might have to write that one down.
Yeah, write that down. That's your next book.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah.
Yes. And you're right. It wasn't, that was a tough job. And I'm so blessed that I had so many military members at all levels, junior to the most senior, looking out for me. I really
Hmm.
have to say that. And that's why I am part of the Honor Foundation, to
Hmm.
give back,
Hmm.
because they helped me so much. I want to make sure now that they're transitioning, I'm helping too,
Yeah.
because I know the civilian side. I know corporate America. I know nonprofits, for profits. I want to help them, and I know your heart's there too.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
um, okay, that's a good segue. Let's talk about what you're doing for our military members. So you wrote a book.
I wrote a book.
Tell
I'm
us
going to be
about the
cheesy
book.
and show you the book. Look at the book.
Perfect.
Yay. We got some glare there or whatever. But
Well, you
yes,
know
that's
what?
the book.
Let me go ahead. Let's bring it up. I
Okay.
want to take them to your website. Let's see
Okay.
here. All right. Now let's see. Is the book pop-up showing up on your end?
Yep, it is.
Oh, good. Okay. So this is Bill's new book.
Yay,
And
thank you.
his website, I'll make sure to share that in the comments, friends. And I will make sure you can access this from his website or on Amazon. You'll have both of those links. So there, isn't that such a nice looking cover? I just love the cover. It's amazing.
You know, I really wish I could take credit for that. I had an idea for a cover, and the folks that I work with that kind of coached me through the publishing process commented that, you know, while my idea was nice, it's not going to sell. So I guess that's one of the lessons that, you know, find an expert and listen to them.
Yes. And there's his website, so you know you're on the right page. All right, I'll click off of that. So tell us about this book.
So the book is it's 151, just kind of happened to be 151 different insights that I've collected that are relevant to career transition, especially for military veterans, although it has application to non-veterans too, over the years. And it's gathered as a former Army officer who went through a transition to the civilian world and then spent a long time as an HR leader in for-profit companies, who then went on to be a coach and advisor in an entrepreneurial way. And throughout all of that, I was keeping notes about my own experience. And then I was keeping notes about those veterans that I worked with formally or informally through the whole period to say, you know, here's what this big, scary new world looks like. So I've got that. I think that the most value adding bit of the book, quite frankly, is this is the voice from the employer side of the desk. You know, oftentimes our service members coach each other. They help each other. You know, somebody just got out and they talk about their experience, and that's all valid. That's all good. But it's not the same as having direct insight from employers, the folks that have the jobs that you're seeking to fill. So that's what I'm attempting to offer here. And the real focus is less on technical, tactical stuff and more on this is the world you're going into. Okay. So I talk about general business initiatives, or I'm sorry, general business topics. I talk about culture, workplace culture in the civilian world. I talk about networking and what is this transition thing all about? Because it's a thing unto itself. You know, there's where you were and there's where you're going. And between those two is that transition environment. And oftentimes it's kind of like problem solving errors. People skip right to the solution and they don't know the problem.
Right. Yes.
So oftentimes I've seen working for, you know, well over 2 decades with veterans and others in career transition, they go right to well, this is what I'm going to do. And here's, I got to have this and I got to do that. And here's a resume and here's a link. It's all the technical, tactical stuff. And they don't understand things like, what do I really want to do and why? Yes. What's important to me? How do I define success? What do I bring to the party, good, bad, or otherwise? So we talk about those kind of things and how important it is. And then I talk about the difference between employers' expectations and experience. You know, 93% of the population never served in uniform. That has an impact. Now, that doesn't mean these are 93% of the population isn't great people or aren't great people, pardon the grammar. Right. But it does mean that 93% of the population never walked a walk even similar to yours as a veteran. Right. It's quite frankly not their job to understand you all the time. You're entering their world. So tell you what, you know, your service was honorable, and it would hopefully, and you know, and you bring great capability. But if you can't understand what the employer is looking for, and if you can't tell your story in a way that lands well on the employer's ears, so they go, yes, you are the best capable to do the work I need done. And yes, we believe you're going to be a great fit and add value to our team. If you can't tell that story in that manner, you got a hard challenge ahead of you. So a lot of the book focuses on those kind of things, just to try and help orient folks that are yet to come down that pipe.
Right.
About what they're going to get into on the other end. So there's
Well,
stories, and I got some graphics in there, and I got some stories I share. And I tried to write it in real plain speak. It's not real highbrow stuff, because I, quite frankly, don't think folks in career transition have a whole lot of time for theoretical
exactly.
things.
Exactly. No, I admit I'm still reading it. It just came out, was it last week?
The 8th, yeah. So
Yeah,
6 days
so
ago.
I got it on my
Thank
Kindle. I'm
you.
still reading it. I had to get it though because I too am a career coach, and being in Virginia Beach, Virginia, I'd say probably 75% of my clients are military.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I have to make sure that I am providing the service and support that they need to be successful in their, the next phase of their journey. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I was excited because you're right. There's not a lot of books written on military transition from the other side of the desk, as you say,
Hmm.
and it's so far everything I've read is very impactful. I love the conversational style.
Thank you.
I think our military members who are in transition are going to love it because it is a quick read. It's easy to read. It's easy to understand, concepts to grasp. And as you were talking, when you said culture, it reminded me, I about 2 years ago, I helped a captain who was transitioning, and she called me up and she said, one of the strangest things happened to me. I said, somebody walked by and they said, good morning, how are you doing? And I stopped to tell them, and they were already gone.
Yeah.
And I thought I did something wrong. And I said, no. Sometimes on the civilian side, it's just the nicety and they keep
Hmm.
moving. They don't necessarily want to have a conversation with you. It's just
Hmm.
a passing statement. And she,
Yeah.
we kind of had a discussion on culture. The other thing, I had another member say, I went into a meeting and I was prepared. And in that meeting, they asked, all of these questions and told us to, bring up some problems. Well, my military training said, if you have a problem, you bring solutions.
Sure.
So I was the newbie, and here I'm bringing all these solutions. And the people who had been there for a very long time started treating him differently later. And I
Hmm.
said, so we had to have that conversation about, okay, this is how things operate sometimes in the civilian world. So when you talked about culture, it's not just the diversity of culture, it's understanding culture overall. You're coming from a different environment when you come from when you leave the military to go to the civilian side, and what does that mean? And so I appreciated that you have a chapter of culture in the book, to
Yeah.
talk about different things.
One of the things I highlight in there seems like a silly example, but I highlight the issue that this civilian world doesn't have uniforms. And
Yes.
everybody goes, okay, so I got it. That's logical. And it's a big difference, but so what? Well, there actually is a so what, I think. And the example I use in the book is you go to your first staff meeting, and, if you're used to the military, everybody comes in with their uniforms and they wear their resume.
Yes.
You know who the decision makers are. You know who the
Exactly.
contributors. You know who the staff. You know who the support people are. You know who the operators are. You know who everybody by looking at the uniform. You come into a civilian meeting and nobody's wearing a uniform, or you're business casual or whatever. Maybe not, because you don't really know what that is. But nobody has the. So you spend time figuring out who's who, what they're bringing to the table, and how to interact well for the most efficient purposes. And guess what? Your civilian counterparts, they've got that all figured out already. They're used to
Yes.
that. So it's one of
Yes.
those subtle culture things that I think a lot of folks just don't get until they find themselves as the new person in that meeting going, uh-oh, I don't know who anybody is.
Yes. The other thing I've found with my military clients or my veteran clients is the salary piece when we talk salary negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the military, you can look on a chart and know what you're going to make, what people make at that particular level, and that number of years of service, etc.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that on the civilian side. In fact, sometimes you have to dig for that information. They don't offer it readily. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Especially difficult if it's not a publicly traded company.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the makeup of it is also, and quite frankly, how much you think you ought to make is a lot less relevant than what they're willing to pay.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I've been on the civilian hiring side and on the compensation side for, a long time. And I will tell you the hard truth that nobody really wants to hear or maybe admit is almost every company out there is going to try to pay the least possible they can to get the best talent they need.
Right.
It's a business decision.
Business.
It's a
Yes.
business decision. So
Yes.
in order to get the kind of money you think you need, you better darn well prove that you got some unique value that's going to
Right.
cause them to make more than they spend to get you.
Right. No, you're preaching to the choir right here. Yes. No, this is good stuff. Good stuff. So this is going to seem kind of like an obvious question, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Why did you decide to write a book focused on military transition, since you really could have gone even broader, just HR in general from the other side of the desk for all job seekers?
That
Why
might be another book.
military?
That might be another book.
There you go.
So I have, and I know this is an overused word, but I have a huge passion for seeing military career transitions improve. I went through a horrible one. Mine was bad.
Okay.
3 of my 5 kids have been in the service, are in or have been in. And I don't want them to go through what I went through. And I've seen far too many veterans come out thoroughly unprepared. The other side of the table is I see far too many employers struggling to get capable talent because they don't know what veterans bring. They don't know the capability and the value add that veterans can bring to their business situation. So from both sides of that discussion, I've been really compelled to write this. And I think it, well, it's my shot at, adding some value there somewhere.
Good, good. So what do you hope this book will do for those who read it? I know, like you said, help them with the transition, but at the end of the day, what do you hope that it'll do for people?
So my mental construct for this thing is the Army calls it intelligence preparation of the battlefield.
Yeah.
It's to better help service members, in that case, prepare for the fight that they're about to enter in multiple dimensions. So I want this to be the intelligence preparation of the career battlefield. Okay. And I've got a graphic in there that explains all that. Okay. So that's great, but so you're better prepared to go do what? What I hope they get out of this is a practical, no kidding kind of peek behind the curtain so they understand what they're facing. And so it's maybe not quite so scary and they're better armed to go do what it is they need to do to be successful in their post-military career.
That's awesome. I love it. Love it. I so far, like I said, I've been enjoying the book. I think knowing the military clients that I've served in the past and those that I've worked with, I think they will really embrace it. And I plan to share it with my clients going forward and those that I know who are going to be experience a transition in the near future. So I'm a fan. I will share the book with others, and we'll have to have an offline conversation about what book number 2 could be about.
Okay, we can do that.
I see some ideas coming out already, so it'll be good to see what book 2 has in store for us.
I got some interesting things up my sleeve.
Good, good. All right, so for the author audience, what did you find most difficult on this journey to writing that book? Was it cover design? Was it formatting, editing, publishing, marketing, all of it?
Yes.
What was it?
Yes. So writing the content was the easy part. Now that may be harder for some people than not. I don't know, but quite frankly, I found myself working from home during 2020.
Right. Yes.
And I'm looking at notes and I'm checking. I was like, but I got something here. Let's put it together in a way that kind of makes sense. And then the next hard part started when it was like, uh-oh, what do I do with it now? How do I go from, I've got a Microsoft Word document that I think has got some value and turn that into a real book? And wow, holy smokes. Do you go to a publishing house and try and sell it through them? And what do you consider? And what are the decision points there? And if you
Right.
do or don't, well, then what do you do? So there are so many things I didn't know that I had to consider. Who owns the rights to the content based on whatever decisions you make? It's like,
Right.
holy, what are royalties and how are they calculated? Well, that depends on other decisions. So there's so many pieces that I didn't get. So what I did is I started talking to friends of mine that have written books.
Perfect.
That, okay, you published with a publishing house. Why did you do that? Or you published independently, self-published on Amazon. Why did you do that? And once I got through the whys, I was like, okay, I think this makes more sense to me. How did you do that? So another great example of why networking is so important, not just in the moment, so I search out a network of great authors that I might know. I built a network because I knew I was going to write a book someday. I started paying attention to people that wrote books and maybe were kind of in the world I'm in. And I reached out years ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago in some cases. Very good friend of mine, Priscilla Archangel, former head of talent management for General Motors. She recommended a source that for parts of it, and she goes, why don't you call these folks and, just start the discussion. And I wound up going with that group. And it customized. I call them my publishing partners because they're more of a contracted shepherd to get me through the process.
Okay.
I own the rights. I technically, legally self-published, but I did it with the expertise of a consulting group that walked me through do you know how to get an ISBN number? And do you know you need one for each different format? And here's how copyright works. And this is where you go. And, first you want a copy edit. Let's see, what was it? A copy edit or a design edit?
Right. There's developmental editing. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Yes.
And then I realized that the editing process and the process of converting it from Word to whatever software they put it in to make it publishable, that's a whole different piece of work. And sometimes the stuff comes across and it doesn't come clean. So you got to edit that. I'll be honest, I got so sick of reading my book.
Right, because it so much. Yes.
Yeah. So graphic design, I think it's 22 graphics in there that I had built. I use them in training sessions and coaching sessions. Well, guess what? PowerPoint doesn't carry over to publishable stuff cleanly in all cases. So we had to go through all that. Cover design, I shared with you earlier. I had a great idea. Well, there's a reason I don't do graphic design, apparently. And I'm very, very pleased with the end product. But there's so many bits of this thing that I just had no idea how it worked. And I'm learning something new every day. So if you want to write the book, write the book. And then be ready to do the work to turn it into a real book. Yes.
See, now you have, in addition, friends, Bill has, written a book on career transition. But if you're also a military member who wants to write a book, guess what? He's done that too. So reach out to him.
I've had a couple folks reach out already. Yeah. Yes,
that's been the biggest help for me and why I do this podcast. The story within is to help people get the story out of their head and onto paper, whether it's a resume for a job or a manuscript for a book. It's getting it out of your head onto paper and out there, So I try to bring on other authors. That's why we have Bill on today to talk about his book, but also kind of dual-headed today for us because he's got the career piece. So it's helping our job seekers, but he's also got the new author piece. He's gone through this, and that's how we learn, folks. We learn by asking others. There's plenty of places out there that can offer some consulting. As Bill mentioned, I do that as well with Vision to Purpose. But just reaching out on LinkedIn and asking your connections, you'll be surprised at how many people have written books. There's a lot. Amazon makes it easy, draft to digital. There's so many out there that they make it easy nowadays. It's just learning the steps you need to take to get there. And I think one of the hardest, and tell me how you feel about it, Bill, I think the marketing piece is harder than anything, for me anyway. The writing came easy like you. I keep journals, I document everything. I don't know if that's the planner in me, or it's just a natural part of my rhythm, if you will. The marketing, not so much. I don't want to spend time doing that. I'm what they call an ambivert. So sometimes I feel extroverted and sometimes I feel introverted. And
right.
when I get in that writing mode, I'm more the introvert because I'm focusing on the task at hand and getting that story out of my head. I don't want to focus on the marketing side. But as my audience knows, I share plenty of tools. So make sure you go to the podcast page on my website, Janine.com podcast, and you'll find those tools authors. Anyway, so marketing has been the tougher one for me because you have to reach your audience. You can write the best book in the world, but if you can't reach the people that could really benefit from it, that's the tough part. So
yeah, I didn't really write this, so it's the best unknown book ever written.
Right.
Right. I mean, certainly, I'm a for-profit. I like running water and electricity, but there's a message here that I believe, as a transitioned veteran and as a employer and as an HR professional and as a transition, there's messages in here that need to get heard. So I'm really working hard on the marketing. I was sending out. I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, so I think I sent out. I sent 100 messages today.
Good job.
That's after having sent out 600 messages on day one.
Yes.
But I knew where I wanted them to go, and some were individual and some were to groups. But it doesn't come natural to me. So the whole thing about, and it was Jason Van Camp, I think it was, deliberate discomfort.
Yes.
That's kind of the key to success with doing this, is I know I'm not real skilled or experienced at the marketing and sales piece. Well, guess where I need to dive in? I need to get good at that.
Right. It reminds me of the business side, when they say you can't do everything. So as the leader, you need to surround yourself with those very smart people. Well, those very smart people all have a piece of knowledge that can be shared. So you may not be good at marketing. I'm professing that. But I have, Melanie Lemus, who is great on the social media side. So that marketing is covered. You just surround yourself with people who have the knowledge and who are passionate about that side that you're not. So you can focus on what you enjoy.
Yeah. And, the interesting part here is that's not dissimilar to the military. You have infantry units that do a certain amount of work, and you have engineers who do other things, and you have artillery, and you have medical units and maintenance units and aviation units and different kinds of units inside of that. So it's not that dissimilar. And this is kind of a little bit of the general knowledge stuff that I've got in the book. There's 12 typical functions in corporate America. There's infinite variations of those. It's just like a different brigade task force. It's just a different units and different capabilities that are all important to be connected together and that need to work well so the overall organization can achieve its mission success.
I like that. I like how you circled back to the military side. Perfect. So friends, if you want to find Bill, you can find him also on LinkedIn. Here's his LinkedIn address. Reach out to him, ask the question. He does have a business, but he's also a coach and does share knowledge. So find him on LinkedIn. Let me put up the book here. So I showed you his website. I will also post this afterwards as part of the episode in the comment section, but you can find him on Amazon. There's the link. You will be able to grab that. So don't worry about writing that long thing down. Just wanted to share it. And then finally, before we close out, what advice would you give military members or veterans who want to write a book and how to go about doing it? I know you said write it. Is there anything else you would say that they should do, or any advice you'd like to give?
Yeah, I think the very first thing, if you think you want to write a book, go write it. Don't worry about what it is or how clean it is or how many pages. Don't worry about that. Tell your story. And remember, it's your story to tell. Don't get caught up in all the other stuff. With fiction, nonfiction, if it's, an advice book, a self-help, whatever it is, don't get caught up and overthink this thing. Go write the book the way you need to write it. At least get it down on paper. And then, as I mentioned before, network along the way to find folks that have written, folks that maybe have published, folks that maybe do graphic design. And when it's a virtuous cycle. When you learn a little, you're going to learn more questions, and then you're going to get them answered, and you're going to learn more questions, and you're going to get them answered. And eventually, you're going to have a momentum and a bank of knowledge that's going to be enough for you to go, yeah, I can do this.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I wouldn't, don't overthink it. Go write the book. Make it a fun part of your life, whatever that is.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Great advice. Great advice, Bill. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know we couldn't get together for the live session because you're a busy guy. You got lots of things going on. You got to market that book.
Yes, I do.
And you got to coach.
In fact, I've got a call in 15 minutes to do just that.
There you go. So I appreciate the time you've taken today to share with us. And I'm sure I'll have you back on when you write book 2.
Okay. I'm looking forward. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate kind of being part of your world here.
Thanks, Bill. Have a good rest of your day. So there you have it, friends. We had Bill Kieffer on. He told you all about his book. Some really good stuff. I recommend that you check it out. I'm sure you will find it very beneficial, especially if you're a transitioning military member or maybe a recent transitioned member. Maybe you're in a civilian job right now, but you don't feel like you transitioned well and you want to look for that second job. Maybe pick up Bill's book and see if there's something you missed in there that could help you on the next job. If you're just now joining us, I recommend that you hit the replay so that you can watch the interview with Bill and get those nuggets of good information that he shared. And then next week, we have another special guest coming on. I'll post that on my website and provide all of the information for you. Remember to always go to JanineBennett.com/podcasts is where you'll find all the podcasts, as well, obviously, on the social media sites, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. And that's all I have today, friends. Thanks for joining us on the Your Story Within podcast. It's been fun.